Hi, this is Jennifer Basilise of Math with Mrs. B, welcoming you to Totally Tutor Tuesday, Episode 1. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, we are working on solving a multi-step linear inequality. So we're looking at negative 11 is greater than or equal to 6 minus 2n minus 5. What a mess over here. Before we start organizing that mess, I'm going to go ahead and draw my line down. I like to call that the river. And what that does is it separates the left-hand side of the inequality with the right-hand side of the inequality. And it's showing me that what I'm working on is finding a value for n so that negative 11 is larger than or equal to these numbers over here. So what value for n will work? So let's clean up this mess. I'm going to rewrite the right-hand side to be 6 minus 5 minus 2n. Notice how I took the minus 5 and I relocated him, and I took the minus 2n and I relocated him. Why did I keep the sign in front of the number? So minus 5, kind of like they partied together and they went over here together. Well, because the sign in front of the number belongs to the number. And I did that because I wanted to make sure that 6 and minus 5 were next to each other so that I can see that I can combine them together to make 1. Because 6 take away 5 is 1. 1 minus 2n. So basically, guys, 6 minus 2n minus 5 is exactly the same as 6 minus 5 minus 2n, which is like, why are we saying 6 minus 5? Can't we just say 1 minus 2n? So negative 11 is greater than or equal to 1 minus 2n. Let's solve for n. We're almost there. So what I'm going to do next, bring down my negative 11, 1 minus 2n, is I'm going to start solving for n. So in order to solve for n, I want to take everything away from n, starting with what's furthest away from n. We're going backwards. We're going away. We're unraveling until we get to n. So we'll start with, we've got a 1 on this side. Let's delete him, and the way to delete that 1 is by subtracting that 1. And we're going to subtract that 1 on both sides. What happens here is that we end up with 1 minus 1, and that cancels off, and that deletes. And on the left side, I've got negative 11 minus 1, which becomes negative 12. And that is greater than or equal to negative 2n. Oh boy. And why is it negative 12? Well, if you're down 11 and then you take 1 away, you're down 12. So next step is to say to ourselves, well, negative 2 is multiplying to n. How would I undo or delete that negative 2? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by negative 2. And I'm going to remember a super important rule about inequalities and dividing and multiplying by negative numbers on both sides. It is a really important rule. This is it. This is the moment. I just divided both sides of an inequality by a negative number. And that does something. What that does is that forces me to flip the inequality sign. So what was greater than or equal to is now less than or equal to because of the rule. And what happens over here is that I end up with n on the right side because negative 2n divided by negative 2 is n. And I end up with 6 on the left side because negative 12 divided by negative 2 is 6. Negative divided by negative is a positive. So like there's all these rules that come back together to make this one problem like happen. So I'm looking at 6 is smaller than or equal to n as my answer, or I can say that n greater than or equal to 6, these are both the same thing, are the values that will make this inequality true. So now I want to actually like test it out, and let's see. Let's pick a value for n. Let's pick a number that's bigger than or equal to 6. Let's plug it in and let's see if it works. So here's our answer. It was n greater than or equal to 6, which is exactly the same as 6 smaller than or equal to n. So n is either bigger than 6 or 6 is smaller than n. Potato, potato. It means the same thing. So we could pick 6 because it does say or equal to. So we could pick 6 as n. We can also pick 7. So let's go ahead and try 7. All right, so here we go. I rewrote the problem, but instead of n, I put in 7. And I want to make sure I follow the order of operations and multiply 2 times 7 first. That gives me a 14. Drop down the 6 and the subtraction and the subtraction and the 5. Here we go. So negative 11 is greater than or equal to 6 minus 14 minus 5. 6 minus 14 minus 5. If I have $6 and then I take away 14, I'm at negative 8 minus 5. If I'm down 8 and then I lose 5, I'm down 13. Negative 11. Is it greater than or equal to negative 13? Well, let's take a look at the number line. Let's see. Yep, that looks like that's it. Let's zoom into that number line and take a closer look. All right, so here's 0. Here's negative 11 right there. Here's negative 13 right there. So the closer to 0 you are, the larger you are. So it looks like negative 13 is indeed smaller than negative 11. So our answer actually worked. It worked. We plugged in a value that was larger than or equal to 6. And it worked. So now what I want to do is actually graph our answer. Let's go ahead and do that. So our answer that works is n is greater than or equal to 6, or 6 is smaller than or equal to n. So here's 6. Let's zoom into that number line one more time. And n could be 6, but n can also be a value that is larger than or equal to 6, because 7 worked and all that worked. So it could be any of these numbers. N could be 6, n could be 6.1, 6.2, and so on, and 7, and 12, and 20, and 1,000,000, and any number larger than or equal to 6. So the graph in blue represents all possible values for n. We also use this number line to check to see if negative 11 was larger than or equal to negative 13. And that concludes my first episode of Totally Tutor Tuesday. I'm Mrs. B of Math with Mrs. B Private Math Tutoring in Orlando, Winter Park, Florida. Thanks for learning with me today. And for more information about me and my tutoring services, visit me at www.mathwithmrsb.com. Have a great day.